Heartwarming rescue revealed, father's incredible transformation from snail shells to joyful life. Jake was a man living on the edge of despair, a facade of strength barely holding up under the weight of life's trials. His 8-year-old daughter, Sophie, still sparkled with innocence and laughter, completely oblivious to the struggles that gnawed at her father's heart. But in the quiet moments at their small kitchen table, Jake felt the heaviness settle in, whispering that he was failing her. The factory job he clung to barely paid the bills, and he often watched his neighbors' judging eyes flick over him like a cold wind. Each glance reminded him of the harsh reality trapping them both. Then came the fateful day the factory announced an unexpected closure, pulling the rug from under Jake's already shaky footing. The weight of uncertainty pressed down on him harder than ever. As he searched for work, despair hidden beneath his brave smile, the distance grew between him and Sophie. She tried to make him laugh, her giggles echoing in their home, but he could hardly muster the joy she clung to. Instead, he often found solace in the colorful snail shells they collected during weekend hikes, little treasures worn soft from time. It was in those simple moments that he dared to dream of a better life. One cloudy afternoon, with darkness heavy in his heart, an unexpected burst of creativity enveloped Jake. He found himself surrounded by the shells that had once felt like fleeting happiness, now revealing their hidden potential. With sheer determination, he began crafting them into intricate jewelry pieces. As he shaped the shells, pain began to morph into something beautiful. Each creation transformed the burden on his heart into a testament of hope. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the clouds thickened and a fierce storm raged through their little town, Jake felt a flicker of hope amidst the chaos. The community center, a place filled with laughter and connection, took a beating from the storm's wrath. While assessing damage alongside their neighbors, Jake found the perfect opportunity to bridge the gap he'd unintentionally created with Sophie. Together, they swept debris and cleared the wreckage, emotions taut and raw. "Dad, why've you been so quiet?" Sophie's voice pierced the air, breaking through the wet whispers of rain. Jake inhaled sharply. "I don't want you to worry," he stammered, his heart aching. I just want to take care of you." As they worked side by side, a spark reignited the bond they had nearly lost. Each shell he showcased turned into symbols of hope for him and the community, drawing admiration and camaraderie from the townsfolk around them. But still, shadows loomed in Jake's mind. Would this path truly heal them? Would the recognition for his craft help mend the fragile relationship he had with his daughter? Sophie stared at the jewelry pieces gleaming on the table, a silent battle raging inside her. Could she reconcile the dreams of childhood with the adult burdens now weighing her down? The question hung in the air, urging a resolution, daring them to embrace the unknown ahead. With the storm finally subsiding, the town emerged weary but hopeful. The aftermath revealed a patchwork of resilience. As Jake and Sophie stood among their neighbors, clearing debris from the community center, a palpable sense of connection sprouted. Jake felt lighter, buoyed by the collective effort, and he saw a flicker of understanding spark in Sophie's eyes. "Look, Dad!" Sophie exclaimed, holding up a shell that had survived the storm, glistening like a treasure. "This one is perfect." The way her eyes lit up filled him with warmth. Maybe the world outside was chaotic, but inside their little bubble, hope echoed louder than despair. As they packed the jewelry into boxes to take to the center, Jake began bouncing ideas off of Sophie. "What if we set up a stand at the community fair? I bet people would love these. And we can call it Snail Shell Treasures." He watched her face, slightly apprehensive and overwhelmed. "Do you think we could really? Would they want to buy this stuff?" Sophie's doubt was met with his resolve. "You saw how everyone reacted to the pieces. They loved them." A smile crept onto her face, buoyed by his enthusiasm. Okay. Let us do it. For the first time in weeks, a sense of excitement stirred between them. In the days that followed, they worked side by side, amusingly clumsy at times, but always supported by laughter and shared stories. They wandered the trail seeking more shells and spent evenings on the porch, crafting, sharing dreams of what they might do with the proceeds. Step by step, the act of creating brought them closer. Each piece became a celebration of their journey, vibrant and full of life. But beneath the surface of their newfound camaraderie, old fears festered. As the fair approached, Jake's doubts resurfaced. What if nobody bought anything? What if the weight of disappointment crushed their tender bond again? He wouldn't allow that, he couldn't. Yet, during the last night before the fair, a silence enveloped him. Sophie was tucked into bed, her dreams awash with possibilities. Jake sat on the porch, breathing in the cool air heavy with damp earth, trying to still the storm brewing inside his mind. Just then, he felt a tug at his heart, one so raw and real it made him shudder. "You are enough, Jake," he whispered to himself, though the words felt foreign and untrue. Could he ever truly believe them? The next morning came bright and clear. The sun glimmered over their small town, promising new beginnings. Jake and Sophie arrived at the fair with their stand brilliantly decorated, the jewelry displayed artfully, catching the eyes of visitors. Excitement washed over them as they engaged with the crowd, smiles given and received. But as laughter and chatter filled the air, Jake's heart raced. Would they embrace his creations, or would they only remember him as the struggling father? Would the day end in joy or break his heart again? "Look!" Sophie pointed excitedly at the approaching crowd. "They're coming to see us." A knot tightened inside him. This was their moment, a chance to spark hope, to bask in the warmth of connection. But deep down, Jake still feared rejection. "Dad, I believe in us," Sophie said softly, her hand squeezing his reassuringly. Before he could respond, an elderly woman reached for one of the necklaces, a bright smile playing on her lips. "This is beautiful," she exclaimed. A wave of hope crashed over him, but could this one moment turn into more? As Sophie beamed at Jake, heartwarming pride shining in her eyes, the tension in his chest began to unfurl. Would this truly bridge the gap between them? Or was it just the beginning of an even deeper struggle? And then came the moment that would change everything. As Sophie bounced on her toes, her gaze fixated on the elderly woman inspecting their work, Jake struggled to keep a firm grip on his emotions. The woman's kind eyes sparkled like the shells nestled in their displays. Could this stranger truly see the beauty they had created together? "Maybe we should have put up a sign," Sophie whispered to him, fidgeting beside their stand. "Something like handcrafted with love." "That's a great idea," Jake replied, forcing a smile as a wave of nervousness washed over him. But the moment felt transformative. They were no longer just a father and daughter battling through heartache. They were artists, creators together. "Excuse me," the woman said, breaking his thoughts. "How much for this lovely piece?" She held up a vibrant necklace, crafted with shells and beads, a labor of love resulting from evenings spent on their porch. Sophie leaned closer, her eyes gleaming with pride. "It's $15. The woman nodded, her smile spreading wider. "I'll take it. It's beautiful." Jake's heart soared as he took the money, disbelief flooding over him. This was their first sale, and it felt monumental. "Did you see?" Sophie squealed. "We sold our first treasure." As they celebrated this small victory, more people gathered, drawn by Sophie's infectious excitement. Jake watched as others began to pick through their creations, each complement a piece of the healing puzzle they were building together. But a deeper shadow loomed over Jake's heart. Fear and self-doubt crept back in like an unwelcome visitor. Would this fleeting joy last? Each smile, each purchase seemed so fragile, teetering on the edge of his own insecurities. The crowd grew, and soon the stand was bustling with laughter and chatter. Sophie was in her element, engaging with customers like a born salesgirl, her youthful enthusiasm contagious. Yet, the weight of Jake's apprehension grew heavier like the storm clouds they had just survived. Then, a familiar face emerged from the crowd. Anna, the woman from the bakery. Jake felt a clutch of nerves as she approached with curious eyes. He had often avoided her since the divorce, too ashamed to face what he'd become. Jake. Sophie. She called cheerfully. I heard about your stand. I couldn't wait to see it. Hi, Anna. Sophie waved, beaming as if she were greeting a long-lost friend. Wow, these are wonderful. You two have really put your hearts into this, Anna said, admiring the jewelry. Jake could hardly respond. He was petrified by her presence, fearing her judgment. What if she saw through the facade, recognizing the turmoil still buzzing beneath the surface? Do you want to buy one, Anna? Sophie asked innocently, breaking through her father's quiet turmoil. Of course. I'd love to support you. Anna shifted her gaze back to Jake. I'm really proud of you both. This is a beautiful thing you're doing. Her words were like a balm to his bruised heart. Maybe he wasn't as lost as he thought. As the sun dipped lower, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink, Jake felt a shift. The laughter and chatter echoed around him, but something profound stirred deep inside. More than sails and shells, they were finding their way back to each other. Just as he was beginning to accept this new chapter, a commotion broke through the joyous atmosphere. Voices rose, and he turned to see a group gathered a few stalls down, their expressions a mix of shock and concern. Something's wrong. His gut twisted with worry as he spotted the commotion intensifying. What had happened? Was this fair going to end on a note of despair? Or was this yet another opportunity to step up and prove that hope could triumph in the face of uncertainty? Stay here, Sophie, Jake instructed, feeling the surge of protectiveness kick in. He pushed through the gathering crowd, heart pounding as adrenaline surged. And as he approached, he glimpsed a figure collapsed on the ground, confusion swirling in the air. In that moment, Jake realized that the challenges weren't just his own. They were collective struggles that linked them all. Would he find the strength to step into this crisis, or would he falter when it mattered most? Jake waded deeper into the crowd, his heart racing as voices crescendoed around him. Faces twisted in concern painted a mosaic of fear. Children clutched their parents' hands tighter, while onlookers leaned forward, eager to understand the unfolding crisis. The figure on the ground came into clearer view, an older man, disheveled and breathing heavily, sweat matting his hair. He lay against a makeshift table, items spilling from a nearby booth, forgotten in the chaos. Panic squeezed at Jake's throat. Is he okay? Jake asked someone standing to the side, a woman fanning her face with a trembling hand. I don't know. He just collapsed, she stammered, her voice tinged with fright. In that moment, Jake felt pulled into an urgent current. Survival instinct kicked in, and he knelt beside the man, feeling the hard pavement against his knees. Sir, can you hear me? He asked, leaning closer, trying to steady his own breath. The man's eyes fluttered open, confusion flickering across his face. Water, he gasped, his voice barely a whisper. Jake jumped to his feet and scanned the crowd for help. He spotted Sophie, her eyes wide with fright, standing just outside the throng. She met his gaze, and despite everything, their connection pulsed strong. Stay with him, Sophie. He called back to her, pushing his way toward a nearby vendor. Do you have any water? Sure do. The vendor rushed over, handing him a bottle as he seized it, heart hammering against his ribs. He rushed back to the older man, crouching once more. Here, drink some water, Jake said, holding the bottle gently to the man's lips. The man sipped, his hands trembling. Jake noticed the lines of age etched throughout his face, the stories held behind those tired eyes. Thank you, he murmured, his breath starting to stabilize. Just breathe. Take it slow, Jake comforted, feeling a sense of purpose encircling him. Sharing this moment, he forgot about the stand, the sales, the whispers of doubt creeping in. Dad? Sophie's voice cut through the haze, and her small hand rested on his shoulder, providing a grounding force. Her bravery surprised him. We're here, buddy, Jake replied, glancing up at her. You're doing great. The commotion finally began to settle as a few people stepped back, allowing space for Jake and Sophie to work. Out of the corner of his eye, he saw Anna moving closer, concern etched on her features. "Is he okay?" she asked, her brow furrowed with worry. "I think so. Just needed some water," Jake assured her, feeling a swell of gratitude in sharing this moment with Anna, a reminder that they could still connect even after everything. As the older man began to regain his strength, he looked up at Jake. "Thank you, son," he said, voice stronger now. "I thought I'd just give up." Jake's chest tightened with empathy. "Don't ever think that. You matter, okay?" For a heartbeat, they shared a profound moment, something unspoken that bridged the gap of generations, of struggles that felt far too heavy to bear alone. The older man managed a small nod, gratitude shining in his teary eyes. As the adrenaline began to fade, Jake turned to Sophie, who was beaming at him with admiration. "You did it, Dad. You were so brave." "I couldn't have without you," he said, pride swelling inside him. He found himself smiling, laughter bubbling forth unbidden. "We were a team, right?" "Right," Sophie exclaimed, her voice upbeat. Just then, the crowd erupted into applause, people recognizing the scene as a small victory, maybe a reminder to everyone of their shared humanity. Jake stood, taking in the sea of faces, feeling a sense of unity, something he hadn't felt in a long time. Yet, amid the cheers, he felt a familiar longing tugging at his heart. What if this sense of connection wasn't just limited to moments of crisis? As the elderly man finally rose to his feet with Jake and Sophie's assistance, the small gathering burst into cheers again. Suddenly, a thought raced through Jake's mind, something almost thrilling. Could he and Sophie build this community into something beyond just a stand? "Let us keep it going. Sophie," he whispered, adrenaline regenerating hope, "let us turn our art into connection, create a space where stories are shared." Before she could respond, he noticed a commotion again near their stand. He squinted through the thinning crowd. A group of kids was teasing another boy, laughter booming, but it wiped the smile from his face. "Hold on a minute," Jake said, a new sense of urgency igniting within him. Looking at Sophie, he realized they had only just begun to write their story. With resolve, he stepped back into the fray, determination pumping through his veins. "Let us show them what we can really do." But would this new challenge cement their bond, or push them apart again? Jake pushed through the crowd, his heart pounding not from fear, but from a surging determination. As he reached the small group taunting the other boy, he noticed the hurt in the boy's eyes, pale and full of shame. This was another kind of crisis, one that flickered in the depths of childhood pain and insecurity. "Hey! What's going on here?" Jake called out, his voice firm but steady. The kids paused, surprise flickering across their faces. "We were just playing," one of them replied, a hint of defensiveness creeping in. "Playing? It looks more like you're trying to make someone feel small," Jake said, crossing his arms. He wasn't angry, but the shield of authority was rising. He glanced back at Sophie, who looked on, wide-eyed but hopeful. They were a team, after all. The kids shifted uncomfortably. They had been malicious without understanding the long shadow it cast. Jake took a breath, trying to channel the courage he felt just moments ago. "Come over here, I need your help," he invited, gesturing for them to gather around. Sophie stepped closer, her innocent curiosity shining through. "We can all play together," she proposed brightly, her voice ringing with excitement. Her belief in the goodness of people was infectious, and Jake felt the warmth of her positivity flooding the moment. The kids hesitated but followed, reluctance battling with curiosity. They gathered around Jake, who crouched to meet them at eye level, his face kind yet serious. "Look," he said, glancing at the boy they were bullying, "everyone deserves to feel safe, to feel included, no matter who they are. Can you imagine what it's like to be on the outside looking in?" The laughter faded, replaced by soft murmurs. Jake noticed one of the kids nodding, guilt washing over his features. "How about we turn this around?" Jake suggested, his idea taking form. "Let us all come together and create something fun. A painting, maybe? A community mural. Everyone can chip in their ideas. Sophie beamed, her enthusiasm contagious. Yeah. We can make it about friendship, she added, her small hand pumping the air as she swayed on her toes. The unfolding scene felt electric. A mother watched from the sidelines, her mouth slightly agape as she saw the kids once caught in a whirlwind of conflict begin to chat amongst themselves, eyes lighting up with possibility. Jake's heart swelled with hope. I know a great place we can showcase it, he said, keeping the energy positive. And you know what? Each of you gets to decide what the mural looks like. Everyone's voice matters. As they began brainstorming ideas, even the boy who had been bullied found a shy smile flitting across his lips. The laughter came back, but this time it wasn't at someone's expense, it was laughter born from a new friendship forming. Jake glanced sideways at Sophie, whose eyes sparkled with pride. This was not just a lesson in conflict resolution, it was about finding community and connection right where they were. Look at this, buddy, he said to her, we're turning pain into art. But as the laughter began to fill the air and sketches filled pockets, Jake felt a different tug. Was he ready to step into this new role, to lead? To teach both his daughter and these kids a new way of seeing each other? The answer loomed large, an open question. Let us keep the momentum going, he exclaimed, adrenaline flooding his veins again. How about we get some supplies and meet here tomorrow? But as the kids cheered, Jake couldn't shake the unease in his gut. What if he couldn't hold this together? What if he let them down when they needed him most? He didn't have the answers yet, but one thing was clear, this was only the beginning. What lessons would they learn and share together in the light of those colorful paintbrushes? And would they still come together when the mural was done, or would it fade into memory just like so much else? The next day felt as electric as the kids' laughter had the day before. Jake stood at the meeting spot early, his heart fluttering like a trapped bird. He prepared in his mind what to say, but what if the kids didn't come? Or worse, what if they brought back the old habits of teasing and exclusion? Sophie bounced beside him, her small hands gripping a bright red backpack filled with supplies. Do you think everyone will show up? She asked, her innocence hanging in the air like a whirlwind of hope. I think they will, Jake replied, even though uncertainty coiled in his stomach. You saw how excited they were. Then, one by one, the kids began to trickle in. They arrived in bright t-shirts and worn sneakers, curiosity reflected in their eyes. The boy who had been bullied and named Jake still didn't know arrived last, glancing hesitantly around as if the past might leap at him. The air felt thick with anticipation. Jake's heart raced a little faster when he saw the boy hesitating just outside the circle. Hey there, Jake called, gesturing. Why don't you come join us? With a small nod, the boy stepped closer. Jake's heart softened. This wasn't just about a mural, it was about bringing them all together and letting them understand a bit more about each other. All right, everyone, he said, raising his hands to gather attention. Let us talk about our mural. What themes can we explore that celebrate friendship? He felt Sophie nudge against him, her eyes wide with excitement. They all gathered around like moths to a flame. Ideas flew the sky, the ocean, rainbows, and butterflies. Sophie suggested we include animals, and laughter erupted when one kid joked about a flying pig. As the creative energy spilled forth, something profound began to happen. Jake noticed a shift in the kids' body language, their shoulders relaxed, and smiles grew genuine. They weren't just teammates anymore, they were allies, sharing stories about their lives, about the fears they faced and the things they loved. The boy who had been bullied spoke up shyly. Maybe we could paint something that shows how hard it can be to fit in but also how great it is to belong. Heads nodded, and a chorus of agreement arose, illuminating Jake's heart with the warmth of belonging. Yes. That's perfect. Empowered by the shared purpose, they divided responsibilities. Some would sketch, some would paint, and others would gather more supplies. As laughter blended with the soft sounds of brushes against canvas, shadows of the previous day faded. Jake felt lighter as he watched Sophie step up, coaxing the quieter kids to brainstorm. Her belief bound them, and Jake marveled at her ability to light the way through the darkness. He wondered if perhaps she was the true leader all along. But just as he was about to share a moment of reflection, an unexpected shout broke through the excitement. "What's happening here?" A stern voice pierced through, causing heads to turn. It was a parent from another group, clearly unimpressed with the gathering. The scene suddenly shifted. Jake's heart raced again, not out of excitement but out of dread. Would this adult crush the hope the kids had built? Would they be forced to scatter back into their separate worlds, leaving behind the bright ownership they had begun to claim? He felt the kids' energy drain as worry swept through them. Jake took a breath, knowing this moment could turn into a lesson none of them anticipated. "Let us see what we can do," he said softly, stepping forward. "After all, we've just begun." As he approached the disgruntled parent, uncertainty mingled with resolve. What would happen next? Would he find a way to help the kids keep their new bond safe? Or would they lose the chance to paint not just a mural but a new chapter in their lives? Jake took a slow step forward, trying to project calmness even as he felt tension tightening in his chest. The parent stood with arms crossed, eyes narrowed, the very definition of disapproval. Murmurs of concern rustled through the group like leaves in the wind. "Excuse me, sir," Jake called out, lifting his chin. "We just wanted to create something beautiful together." His voice sounded steadier than he felt. "These kids, look at them. They're working together to express themselves, to belong." The adult's expression didn't soften. "And I'm sure there are rules about that kind of gathering," he barked back. "You all shouldn't be here without supervision." Jake glanced back at the kids, most of whom now looked down, their earlier excitement snuffed out like a flickering candle. He felt a stab of urgency. "But isn't belonging what we want for our kids?" he replied, the words spilling out in an effort to reach this man. "They're learning friendship, supporting one another. Isn't that worth something?" The parent seemed to blink, momentarily thrown off by the question. The kids, hearing Jake's heartfelt plea, began to shift their stances, standing a little taller. Sophie, ever the brave one, stepped up next to Jake with her bright eyes shining. "Please, we just want to paint a mural. It's about us all being friends," she added, her small voice trembling but firm. The parent looked between Jake and Sophie, his features beginning to soften, though uncertainty still flickered in his eyes. "It's just how kids can be. They can get carried away." "I do," Jake said softly. "But maybe we can show them a better way. We're working on something real here. Just a chance to bring these kids together." Silence hung in the air as they all waited, hearts beating in synchrony. Jake's mind raced. Would this be their moment of triumph, or yet another instance of dismissal? The tension was palpable. Finally, the parent sighed, the fight in him wavering. "All right, just keep it civil. And don't wander too far from the playground." Relief washed over Jake like a cool breeze on a sweltering day. "Absolutely. Thank you." His words came out a little too quickly, but he didn't care. He turned back to the kids, a grin breaking across his face. "See? We've got this." Cheers erupted, and the energy began to fill up the space again, rekindling the creative flame ignited just moments before. Jake felt Sophie's hand squeeze her approval, her joy. It felt like fireworks igniting inside him. "Let us get back to painting," Jake exclaimed, rallying the kids like a quarterback calling the next play. They dove into their task, brushes swirling and laughter echoing, the mural slowly coming to life as bright colors spilled across the canvas. Yet, even through the cheers and colors, Jake couldn't shake a feeling that lingered in the back of his mind. What if they faced more challenges today? What if this step forward led to another struggle? As the sun drifted lower in the sky, painting it with hues of orange and pink, Jake caught sight of the boy who had shared his thoughts about belonging earlier. The boy was painting with a determination that lit up his face, a joy that seemed to come from the very depths of his heart. And still, another part of Jake watched, wary, knowing the hardest battles often came unexpectedly. Just as they settled back into their rhythm, a loud crash interrupted the air. A supply box had toppled over, spilling paints everywhere, the colors merging into a chaotic puddle. Jake's heart sank. Would this be the moment that unraveled everything? With the kids hesitating, faces filled with fear of disapproval, Jake couldn't help but wonder if this tiny mishap would create a rift or if they would once again find a way to rise together. Would they rally and transform this accident into something beautiful? With a deep breath, he called out, "Hey, everyone! Let us make this part of our mural. It's a new color for our artwork." He could feel the question linger in the air, sealing off their moment of joy with uncertainty. Would they embrace it, or would they retreat? Again? The moment hung thick in the air, hesitation swirling among the kids as brightly as the spilled paints. Jake felt a shiver run down his spine. Would they see the beauty in this? Sophia's face lit up, her bright eyes reflecting the colors pooling on the ground. "Yeah. Look. We can use it," she exclaimed, pointing to the vibrant mess. "We can blend it into the mural." The other kids began to murmur, uncertain. But Jake saw a spark ignite in Sophia's enthusiasm. He stepped forward, took a deep breath, and added, "Exactly. Art is about embracing everything, even the accidents. Let us turn this into something amazing." With renewed excitement, the kids started moving again. They grabbed their brushes and dipped them into the puddles of paint, blending colors together with a newfound thrill. Jake watched with pride as they giggled and splashed paint onto the mural, transforming the chaos into a lively canvas bursting with possibilities. "Look at this!" shouted one boy, smearing a handful of green across the surface, his face beaming. "Now it looks like grass." The laughter became infectious, and one by one, the kids broke out of their shell of worry, diving into the artwork with abandon. The initial fear dissipated, replaced by their collective determination to create something that represented them all. As Jake observed the transformation, he felt his heart swell. They weren't just painting a mural, they were painting their stories, their emotions, and their unity. But then, a shadow fell across the group. Jake turned to see the parent watching from the side, arms crossed again, eyes narrowed. A rush of anxiety washed over him. Would this setback push the adult back into the realm of disapproval? "Hey! You can't do that. You'll get dirty," the parent shouted, a hint of panic rising in his voice. Instantly, the laughter faded, and the kids stopped, unsure how to respond. Jake felt a jolt of fear wash over him. He hated to see the joy wiped away so easily. Sophie stepped forward once more, brushing the paint from her hands. "But we're being creative. Isn't that what matters?" Her voice was brave, small, yet undeniably powerful. Jake felt a surge of hope in her innocence. He quickly joined her, standing shoulder to shoulder. "Sophie's right," he said. "Art can be messy. And it's okay if we get a little dirty in the process. It means we're living, learning, and growing." The parent hesitated again, his expression shifting, caught between the desire to intervene and the undeniable energy radiating from the children. "Maybe," he began, voice softer but still tinged with concern. "Just try to clean up afterward, okay? Promise," shouted a chorus of voices. The kids smiled, their spirits lifted once again as they resumed their painting. Jake turned back to Sophie, who was already chatting with another friend about the colors they'd use next. Her joy was infectious, lighting up the cold shadows cast by the adult's earlier disapproval. Yet another worry loomed in Jake's heart. Would they face this pushback again? Could they hold on to their light as the day wore on? As he watched the mural gradually come together, vibrant strokes of color intertwining like the kids' laughter, Jake felt a glimmer of weight settle upon him. Forging a community was never just about the artwork, it was about those tough moments that brought them closer. Just then, a loud crash echoed across the playground, an equipment mishap that sent a jarring pulse through his chest. Jake's adrenaline kicked in as he rushed to see what had happened, wondering if the true test of their camaraderie had just begun. Would this incident shake their resolve, or unite them even further? Jake dashed toward the sound, his heart racing. The moment felt like it stretched into slow motion, each thud of his heart echoing in his ears. The playground stretched out before him, a swirling mix of colors and chaos as laughter faded and murmurs turned to gasps. He reached a cluster of children gathered around a fallen piece of playground equipment. A swing had come loose, the heavy metal frame teetering precariously. A girl named Mia stood frozen, wide-eyed and trembling near the wreckage. It was clear she was scared, and Jake felt a pull to reassure her. "Mia. It's okay. We're here," he called out as he approached. "Let us all take a step back." He could feel the attention of the other kids on him, their expressions a mix of concern and a hint of confusion. He knelt down in front of Mia, lowering his voice. "Can you tell me what happened?" "It just fell," she stammered, her tiny hands shaking. "I was playing and then it hey, breathe," Jake interrupted gently. "Let us get everyone to safety first." His instincts kicked in, a surge of leadership flooding through him as he began to usher the kids back, creating space. Sophie appeared at his side, her face still stained with paint, but now marked by determination. "We can help. We can pick it up together," she declared, pumping her small fists in the air, a spark igniting in her eyes again. Jake nodded, grateful for her enthusiasm. "Yes. But safely. Let us not rush. Everyone stand back while we figure this out." Just then, the parent who had earlier expressed disapproval approached, face pale but a mixture of fear and admiration written across it. "Is everyone all right?" he asked, eyes scanning the group. "Just shaken up," Jake reassured him, then turned back to the kids. "Okay, team. Listen up, we're going to work together and make sure everyone is safe. I need your help. Can anyone tell me how we can best lift this?" Hands shot up, ideas bubbling up like vibrant paint pooling on the ground. Some suggested ropes, others offered to help steady it. Jake smiled, seeing their collective energy taking shape again, turning fear into a shared mission. "We'll need to be super careful. Teamwork is key. We're going to get through this together," he said, igniting a renewed spark in the children. With everyone in agreement, they formed a line, each kid ready to do their part. Together they moved in close, hands interlocking, slowly lifting the swing back upright, but it was clear they would need to take more action afterward to ensure it was safe. Through all the chaos, Jake felt something shift inside him, a deep connection forged by this challenge. The parent watched, arms still crossed but tension easing. He opened his mouth, then closed it, silently weighing what he had just witnessed. As the kids cheered upon getting the swing back in place, Jake felt relief wash over him, but there was something deeper stirring. It wasn't just about fixing the equipment, it was about their unity, their growth, and this unexpected journey they were on. Through the excitement, Jake glanced at Sophie, whose smile shone brighter than the sun above, and his heart soared. "Now we can finish our mural," she shouted, and the idea brought a collective roar of approval. But deep down, Jake couldn't shake the feeling that the storm wasn't entirely over. He sensed that this incident had cracked open something deeper within them and might reveal more challenges, a test of not just their creativity but their trust in one another, one that could reshape their whole experience. As laughter burst forth again and their brushes resumed stained colors on the mural, Jake knew one thing for sure. They were just getting started. What lay ahead would challenge everything they built together. Would they be able to face it, side by side? The sun rose bright on the day of the mural's unveiling. Jake stood before it, heart swelling with pride and fears intertwined. The vibrant swirls of color reflected laughter, challenge, and an undeniable bond between him and the kids. It wasn't just paint on a wall, it was the culmination of every struggle, every moment of joy, and every connection forged. Sophie bounced beside him, eyes wide with excitement. "Today's the day, Dad. Everyone will see our creation." Her expression was pure and unfiltered, and her enthusiasm lit the air like fireworks. "Yeah, it is. I can't wait to show them what we've made," Jake said, but hidden beneath his smile was a flicker of anxiety. What if the world I didn't take it in the way they hoped? Would the unsteady ground he stood on crumble beneath him again? They arrived at the park, the energy buzzing with anticipation. Families gathered round, kids chatting and laughing, a sense of community swelled like a tide. Jake felt the warmth of familiarity as he caught sight of Anna. Her smile was bright, filled with encouragement, and in that moment, he knew he wasn't standing alone. But what if doubt crept in, tainting the joy? "Are you ready for this?" Sophie pulled him back to the present, her eyes sparkling with the innocence of youth and the boundless hope it carried. "Absolutely," he replied, forcing assurance into his voice. "Let us go share our treasure." As Jake took a deep breath, the sound of laughter and chatter rippling around him, he realized they were standing at a crossroads. They could either cling to their past fears or dive into this new beginning, fully embracing the connections they forged. The crowd grew quiet as Jake stepped forward, Sophie at his side. "Good morning, everyone." His voice rang clear, and he felt its warmth wash over him. "Today, we're excited to unveil our mural, a representation of our journey, together as a community." Cheers erupted, and as he unveiled the canvas, gasps filled the air. "Wow!" Voices chorused, admiration sparkled everywhere like stars in a clear night sky. Jake looked at Sophie, whose face radiated joy. "We did it, Dad." "They love it." "I knew they would," Jake grinned, tears prickling his eyes. Each brushstroke gleamed with their shared experiences, moments of laughter, fears they overcame, and the bond that had bloomed amidst their challenges. But as the celebration continued, a familiar shadow crept into his mind. What if the excitement faded? What if he couldn't sustain this moment of connection? The weight of his insecurities pressed down, clouding the joy in that very moment. Sophie tugged at his sleeve, eyes bright. "Dad, look. They want to paint on it, too." She pointed at the kids from the neighborhood, smiles plastered across their little faces full of awe and excitement. With newfound resolve, Jake watched as kids approached the mural, brushes in hand. "Now we share our space," he said, voice buoyed by the electricity of their energy. "Everyone gets to add their mark, a part of them, into our collective story." The kids cheered, and Sophie squealed with joy, pitching in to help guide them. Laughter rippled through the crowd as each child left their handprint in the corner of the mural, colors blending into a magnificent tapestry of expression. And then, he noticed the father who confronted them earlier, standing awkwardly at the edge, watching his daughter join in. But this time, the tension that usually draped over him was eased. "Hey!" Jake called out, gathering courage. "Why not join us? We'd love to have you." The parent hesitated but then approached, slowly forming a smile. "All right, let us see what I can add," he said, and with that simple gesture, the air shifted. Jake felt the bonds continue to bloom, his heart expanding. As they all painted together, he realized this was more than just art, it was transformation. And amid the splashes of color, Jake finally saw it. Hope was a living, breathing thing. Each laugh intertwined with brush strokes carried the weight of battle, yet they shared that burden as a community. It was through hope, love, and creativity that he and Sophie had transformed those snail shells. They were now expressions of resilience. Later, as the sun dipped low, painting the sky in shades reminiscent of their mural, Jake stood with Sophie, watching their creation come to life with the fingerprints of their community. "What if we do more?" Sophie asked, her voice steady with determination. "What if we keep creating spaces for everyone to be together?" Jake looked at her, heart swelling. "You're right. We'll create a place where stories are shared, where everyone is welcome." The connection felt eternal. This was it. They were no longer just a father and daughter overcoming despair. They were empowered as creators, weaving together the fabric of their community and embracing each day as it came. As laughter echoed into the twilight and children played freely, Jake realized it was in these moments of courage, love, and hope that true transformation thrived. And that was just the beginning. Now is your moment to act. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help us grow our community. Comment your reactions and feelings about this emotional ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this beautiful transformation. You need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait not even one more second to share.